I discovered my neighbor was a serial killer, and I'm still shaking. The man in apartment 4B was the kind of guy who would carry your groceries up 3 flights of stairs without breaking a sweat. His name was Arthur. He was 60, retired, wore beige cardigans, and baked cinnamon rolls for the entire floor every Sunday morning. He was the grandpa of the building. He watered my plants when I was out of town. He fixed my leaky faucet for free because the landlord was a slumlord who wouldn't answer the phone. Everyone loved Arthur. I loved Arthur. And that is why I am currently sitting in a hotel room with a police officer outside my door, unable to stop scrubbing my skin. Because I realized that for the last 6 months, I've been eating vegetables grown from the bodies of missing women. It started with the noise. I'm a light sleeper and the walls in our complex are paper thin. For months, I'd hear Arthur working late at night. A rhythmic thumping sound, thump, drag, thump, drag. When I asked him about it in the hallway, he gave me that sweet, crinkly-eyed smile and told me he was taking up sculpting. "Clay is heavy work, dear," he'd said, dusting white powder off his hands. "It helps with my arthritis." I felt bad for asking. I even bought him a sculpting tool set for his birthday. He actually teared up when I gave it to him. He hugged me and said, "You have such a good heart, it's rare." The first red flag was the girl in 3C. Her name was Chloe. She was loud, messy, and argued with her boyfriend constantly. Then one Tuesday, the arguing stopped. Arthur told us she'd broken up with the guy and moved back to Ohio in the middle of the night. He said she'd left her keys with him to give to the landlord. It made sense. But 2 days later, I was walking past the dumpster behind our building, and I saw something glinting near the bottom. I climbed in, gross, I know, and pulled it out. It was a charm bracelet, a very specific, tacky bracelet with a little Eiffel Tower. I had seen Chloe wearing it every single day. She never took it off. Why would she throw it away? I knocked on Arthur's door that evening, bracelet in my pocket. I don't know why I went to him. I guess I just wanted reassurance. He invited me in. His apartment was spotless, smelled like lavender and bleach, too much bleach. We sat in his kitchen and I showed him the bracelet. "Arthur," I said, "I found this in the trash. Do you think Chloe is okay?" Arthur went still, like statue still. He set his tea mug down without a sound. "She probably just wanted a fresh start, dear, shedding the old skin." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes this time. Then he stood up. "Let me get you some of those tomatoes from the garden. You know they're ripe." Arthur's pride and joy was the community garden plot behind the building. He spent hours there. His vegetables were freakishly large. Huge pumpkins, massive cabbages, and tomatoes the size of softballs. He insisted I take a bag of them. I left his apartment feeling weirdly cold, but I brushed it off. I ate the tomatoes that night in a salad. They were sweet. The breaking point was 3 nights ago. I woke up at 2:00 a.m. to a sound that wasn't sculpting. It was a muffled, high-pitched whining sound, like a drill but wet, and it was coming from the vent in my bathroom that connected to his unit. I got a step stool and pressed my ear to the grate. Through the metal slats, I heard Arthur's voice. He wasn't talking to himself. He was talking to something. "You're being difficult just like Chloe," he whispered. "The clay needs to set. Stop moving." My blood turned to ice. Stop moving. I didn't call the police immediately because I was terrified I was crazy. Instead, I waited until the next morning when I knew Arthur had his volunteer shift at the library. I did something illegal. I used the emergency key under his doormat, which I knew about because he trusted me, and I let myself into 4B. The apartment was normal, boringly normal, but the smell of bleach was overpowering. I went to the spare room, the sculpting studio. The door was locked. I used a credit card to shimmy the latch. When the door swung open, I didn't see sculptures. I saw a kill room. The floor was covered in heavy-duty plastic sheeting. There was a surgical table in the center, and on the shelves, oh God, the shelves, there were rows of jars, not clay, trophies, driver's licenses, rings, locks of hair. I found Chloe's license. I found the license of a girl who went missing 3 years ago from the next town over. But the worst part wasn't the room. It was the map on the wall. It was a diagram of the garden. He had labeled the vegetable patches: Chloe carrots, Sarah pumpkins, Rebecca tomatoes. I doubled over and dry heaved. The tomatoes. The sweet, juicy tomatoes I had eaten for dinner. He wasn't just killing them. He was composting them. He was using a commercial-grade wood chipper, which I found covered in a tarp in the corner, to turn these women into fertilizer. He was feeding them to us. The whole building had been eating his victims for years. I heard the front door lock click. I froze. I was trapped in the kill room. I heard Arthur humming. He was home early. I scrambled under the plastic-covered table, pressing my hand over my mouth. I saw his beige orthopedic shoes walk into the room. He stopped. He sniffed the air. "I know you're in here, dear," he said. His voice wasn't like a grandpa anymore. It was flat and dead. "I can smell your fear. It smells just like the others." He walked over to the wood chipper and patted it. I was saving the zucchini patch for you. You have such long legs, you'd make excellent fertilizer. I didn't wait. I saw a heavy jar of formaldehyde or acid or whatever he used on the bottom shelf near my head. As he reached down to grab my ankle, I swung the jar with both hands. It smashed into his shin. He howled a horrible, high-pitched sound and fell backward. I scrambled out from under the table, jumping over him. He grabbed my foot, his grip like iron. I kicked him in the face, feeling his nose crunch under my heel, and ran. I ran out of the apartment, screaming, "Fire! Fire!" to get people to open their doors. I didn't stop until I was in the middle of the street, flagging down a patrol car. The police raided the building an hour later. They found the bodies, or what was left of them, buried under the prize-winning vegetables. They found DNA from 12 different women in his studio. They found the videotapes he made of the process. But here is the twist that keeps me up at night. The police interrogated him. They asked him why. They asked him why he fed the vegetables to the neighbors. Arthur looked at the detective, smiled that sweet, grandfatherly smile, and said, "I wanted them to live on. I wanted to make the community stronger. You are what you eat, aren't you? Now a little piece of Chloe is in all of you." The doctors are pumping my stomach, but they can't pump the memory out. I can't look at food. I can't look at old men in cardigans. And the worst part, when the news crews interviewed the other neighbors, half of them didn't believe it. They were crying, saying Arthur was a saint. One woman, Mrs. Higgins from 2A, was interviewed while holding a jar of his homemade tomato sauce. She refused to give it to the police as evidence. She said it was the best sauce she'd ever tasted. I'm moving to a city where nothing grows. I'm never eating a vegetable again. And if a neighbor ever tries to do something nice for me, I'm calling the cops. Well, folks, that's all for today's commentary adventure. Thanks for letting me sprinkle in my observations along the way. Until our paths cross again, stay sharp. If you made it to the end, drop a comment. I love reading all your comments. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.